Okay, so here's the deal. This is like the third time that I've made this video because I've had major technical difficulties. And yesterday I kept getting DoorDash calls in the middle of videos. So I'm making it a third time and it better work this time. So let me erase all the notes that I made for you already. And then I can finish in one setting, hopefully. I will be so mad if this doesn't work. But you miss all the funniness that happened in my video from yesterday. So here goes. We're going to go through this page and it's going to be weird because I really do feel like I already told you all this since I already made this video. But what we're going to do with this, it's like everything that we've done has kind of gone like easy, hard, easy, hard, easy, hard, easy, hard, and everything that we've been doing have been kind of difficult. So this is back to pretty easy stuff. Like we're going to go back into solving equations, which is stuff we've been doing since like the third grade. So I'm really, really, really hoping that you guys will totally get this, even though I am not there, and that you'll be able to understand. So here's how it goes. We've know PEMDAS. We've learned PEMDAS. PEMDAS is for simplifying um expressions. How about just simplifying order? It's the order for simplifying. And I probably should have written it that way. I like spit all over this. And I am back to school on a Saturday because I couldn't focus at home. And so I'm here trying to get this done for you so that you have something while I'm gone. So that's for simplifying. So SADMEPS, which is reverse PEMDAS, it's literally the whole thing backwards, is for solving. It's the order for solving. I really hope that that music is not too loud, but I don't want to get up and turn it down. So it's the order for solving. So anytime you're solving equations, you're going to go in that order. When it comes to S and A, okay, add and subtract, pretty basic. And then multiply and divide come next. But exponent is also going to include square root. So I know that we did this, but it's been a while ago. Anytime you have a fractional exponent, that's the same as a square root. Okay, 1/3, remember, was a cube root. And I don't know if we did that. I know I did in algebra 2, and I'm hoping we already did it. But either way, that's not the point of the lesson. All I need you to know is that that's where the root comes from in the order. It's the same part of the exponents. Okay, because when it comes to inverse operations, I'm going to put them over here. Inverse operations. And I don't think operations has two P's. So that's, we're going to go with that. And but add undoes subtract, right? They undo each other. Multiply undoes division. And x squared undoes square root. Okay? And x cubed undoes the cube root. So for example, if you have 2 squared and you take the square root, it's the same as just having 2. If you have 3 cubed and you take the cube root, it's the same as having 3. The roots cancel each other out. Roots and exponents cancel each other out. Same with x squared. If you take the square root, you just get x. So that's going to be part of our solving. You're going to undo the root part by doing the inverse, which is the exponent that matches it. Okay? So, very first one, let's just get started. And again, the benefit, I told you this last semester, the benefit of watching videos is that you can push pause whenever you want. So if I go way too fast, then you just have to kind of pause me, I guess. So when it comes to solving, like I said, you're going to do SADMEPS. So add or subtract happens first. So you have to get rid of this 3. You can't do this get rid of the square root part until that's all that's on that side. So the 3 is gone, and you have square root of x is equal to 7. Okay, so now you're going to get rid of that root. So the opposite of a square root is to square. And square root cancel each other out. So x would be equal to 49. Remember, 7 squared is not 7 times 2. It's 7 times 7, which is 49. Now, here's super, 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 super important. You must. I don't make you for anything else because you can choose to, but in these, you must check your answers. because they don't always work. You'll always get an answer, but it doesn't always work. And sometimes you get two answers and only one of them works. So you really always have to check your answer. So by that, I mean you have to take 49 and put it back into the problem. Minus 3, does that equal 4? You're asking yourself. So square root of 49 is 7. 7 minus 3 is in fact 4. Therefore, this can be your answer. Okay? But I know that you think they're always going to work, and it doesn't. So let's look at the next one. I'll give you a minute to kind of write that down. Pick my color choice. So you have to check to make sure it works. Because look at the next problem. It looks exactly the same, right? But the numbers are a little different. But when you subtract 5, okay, you get -2. So x equals -2. To get rid of an x, or the root, you have to square it. I'll choose a different color. You square it. So it gets rid of that. And x is equal to +4. -2 times -2 is +4. All right. But if you take that and check it, I already know what's going to happen because I know. But the square root of 4 plus 5, does that equal 3? Well, square root of 4 is 2. And 2 plus 5 does not equal 3 because it's 7. And 7 does not equal 3. So this does not work. And in actuality, you have, not what that says, no solution. So that means there is no value of x that's going to work. There is nothing that square rooted plus 5 would equal 3. It's just not possible. So there's no solution. But you wouldn't know that if you didn't check, because we got an answer. It was 4. It works. But it doesn't always work. So you just have to be really careful. Okay? So this next one, I always feel like I go fast when I do these videos because there's no one here to ask me questions or to call on. So hopefully I'm wasting time for you. But here we go. Next one. You can't put those together, okay? Because the 1 is underneath the root, and so it's trapped. So the only thing that you're allowed to move is the 3. So you're going to add 3 to both sides. And the square root of x plus 1 is equal to 5, right? 2 plus 3 is 5. Sorry. And then you can do the square now. You can't move the 1 because it's trapped by the root. So once you get rid of that root, now x plus 1 is free. And it equals 25. Then you can move the 1. Okay, so you can't touch it if it's underneath the root until you get rid of the root. So it's 24. And we can throw it in the check. 24 plus 1 minus 3. Does that equal 2? That's 25. Minus 3 does, in fact, equal 2. Okay, so a lot of times it comes up when you get that negative like halfway through the problem, but it doesn't always work out that way. Like it really sometimes is a shocker when it works or doesn't work. And so you just have to be really careful. So this next one, you can't move anything. We don't have any adding or subtracting to take place because there is nothing to add or subtract. So you've got to, what is the song? Okay, so in this one, you can't get rid of the 3 because it's trapped by the root. So you have to do the root first. Okay, so you have to get rid of the exponent. You can't add or subtract, can't multiply or divide. So the root is the only thing. You'll see what I'm talking about with the multiply one. I'm sure that there's one on here. It's if there's like a number in front. So if you had like 2 root x plus 5, like that, equal 2, then you would move the 5 because that's your add or subtract. And of course, I pick one that doesn't actually make any sense. So let's make, hold up, make it 15. Okay, so then you would have 2 root x equals 10. Then you would have to divide by 2 to get rid of this one. So root x equals 5. Then you can get rid of the root. So that's what I mean by multiply or divide. That would be the case where you would have to get rid of the multiply or divide. Hopefully one comes up, but if not, then you see it right there. Back to this problem. So you have 2x plus 3 and you have 25 because negative 5 squared is 25. But if you minus 3, you end up with 22 divided by 2 is 11. And so let's check it before we can box it and say that that works. Let's check and see. 2 times 11 plus 3, does that equal negative 5? 22 and 3 is 25. And the square root of 25 is 5. And one of the things I want you to be very careful of, we have in the past done equations where you take the square root and you're solving and you get plus or minus 5. So sometimes the square root is plus and minus 5. But that only happens if you're solving for x. Because we don't know what x is. The whole point of an x or a variable is it's a number we just don't know, right? So we don't know what that number is, and you do all the solving to find out what it is. Like now we know x is 11. That was what represents it. So you can't assume, unless you're solving for x, that it's plus or minus. The square root of 25 is just 5. If it just gives you this problem, the answer is just 5, not negative 5. So they are not the same. So it cannot be 11. So the answer is no solution. So the only time you get plus or minus is if you're solving for x, you're taking the square root of both sides, and you're checking to see what the answer would be. I know it seems a little confusing, but if you're solving for x, you could end up with a plus or minus when you would have like a root, remember, because it could be positive or it could be negative. But if you're just doing the square root of 25, it's just 5. All right, so on 5, back to here. This is the kind that's different. So we need to put a warning kind of on the top, because if at any time in your solving you end up with x squared somewhere, then you must set it equal to 0. These are the things that you got to do. Set it equal to 0, factor, and then get 2 answers. That's the ones we had before when you're finding the roots. Okay, so those are your steps. Step 1, set it equal to 0. Step 2, factor. Step 3, get 2 answers with the zero product property. I don't know if you guys remember that, but zero product property, or at one point I called it the ZPP, zero product property. So here's how this works. The problem is there's an x on both sides, so it's going to happen all by itself. If we subtract 5 over here, oh, way too far. I don't know why I did it over there. And then you get rid of this 5, you have x minus 5 equals the square root of x plus 7. So the problem is when you take this to get rid of the root, you're going to end up having to FOIL this. Like you have to write it twice. X minus 5, x minus 5, x times x times 5, 5 times 5. Like there's definitely times you're going to have to get good at that, because it comes up often. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If you have x plus 1 squared, it's the reverse of a diamond, right? So it adds and subtracts. It's going to be x squared. 1 plus 1 gets you the middle, and 1 times 1 gets you the end. Okay? Same is true for x plus 2 squared. It's always x squared because there's just one x. 2 plus 2 gets you 4x in the middle. 2 times 2 gets you 4 on the end. If it's x minus 3, it's throwing a minus. X squared, then negative 3 plus negative 3 is negative 6. But negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. So you've got to get to where those are easy, that you don't have to FOIL it every single time. Okay? Every single time you're going to have x squared. 4 plus 4 is 8. That's a really ugly 8. 4 times 4 is 16. Okay? So same thing every single time. Throw in another minus just so that you see it. It's going to be x squared. 5, negative 5, and negative 5 is negative 10. Negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. So you don't have to do this. You don't have to write it twice and FOIL. First off, we have a list over there now of cheat sheet, but it's always going to be x squared. Negative 5 plus negative 5 is negative 10. times this 25. If you have to FOIL it out, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I'm not going to do it anymore because we are moving on in life and old enough to kind of take some shortcuts. We got to learn some ways to make things a little easier. So this, okay, is going to be this. That's where it comes from. If you FOILed it out, that's what you would get every single time. So now, that being said, it must equal 0. So that was the first step, right? We solved the problem. Now we have an x squared. So we got to do the next step. The next step is set it equal to 0. So the x and the 7 have to come over here. So you've got x squared, negative 10 and negative 1 is negative 11. 25 minus 7 is, I believe, 18. And I don't know why I actually cleaned up today, so there's no calculators all over the place. Or I did yesterday. So 25 minus 17 is 8, not 18. No, because it's minus 7. Oh, geez. I just like snapped my thing off. So it is, hold up, go back. It is 18. Because it's 25 minus 7, not 17. Equals 0. So there's our first step. Set it equal to 0. Next step says factor, which we know factor means diamond. So you're going to throw it in diamond. 18 and negative 11 is negative 9 and negative 2. X minus 9. X minus 2. Here's that zero product property. If they multiply to be 0, then it's what would make them 0. So 9 minus 9 is 0, and 2 minus 2 is 0. So those would be your answers. But again, we have to check. We have to check and see if those answers would actually work or not. So you're going to take those two answers and you're going to plug them back in, each of them. So 9 and 9 plus 7 plus 5. So that would be 9. 9 plus 7 is 16. And 16 is 4. Plus 5 is 9. Square root of 16 is 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. So that one works. But you got to check the other one just to be sure. So I'm going to go back to green. I know on here you can actually see how much I changed colors. So we're going to check the 2. Does 2 equal 2 plus 7 plus 5? So 2 plus 7 is 9. But the square root of 9 is 3. And 3 plus 5 is 8. So that is not true. Therefore, it cannot be 2. So your answer is only 9. There is not 2 answers. So you have to check it. I'm pretty sure that they don't both always work. But I wouldn't say never, 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 because you never know. But usually it's one that works. But every once in a while, you do get 2 that work. I'm sure that it happens. I can't say that it will never happen. So you want to make sure that you're very careful and that you don't just assume that you got one, you don't have to check the other. So just always check them both just to be sure. All right, so that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. So anytime you end up with an x squared, you have to set it equal to 0, factor, solve, and check both answers because you're always going to end up with 2 answers once you have x squared. Because remember, it's a parabola. It has 2 answers across this twice. So you got to make sure if it really does or if it doesn't actually work. All right, next one. We only got a couple more. So you add 8. And you have x plus 8 equals 2 times the square root of x plus 2. And I think there's a typo, actually. We need to fix this one because for some reason, I have 2 typos on here. So come back in here. I have on my answer key, thank goodness I have an answer key in front of me because I would have forgot that. I have 2x. So I'm gonna actually, hold up, I'm gonna cross out this 6 with a white pen so it's not there. So it's gonna be number 6 is gonna be 2x, and then I also have negative x plus 2 in there. I don't know why, but there must be a reason. Okay, so it's gonna be 2x plus 8 and then a negative on the inside. So we'll see as we go why that's there, but please check that, fix that. So 2, these are the things that I fixed. If you weren't looking, the 2 is here. Oh, it won't highlight over the white crayon or marker that I used. So the 2x is here, and then a negative x there. Those are the 2 typos. So fix that. I gotta make sure that I fix that next year when I copy these. Okay, so those are typos. So anyways, here we are, back to this. You moved the 8. We got to divide by 2 because you can't take the square root till that's there. Oh, and this, oops, this is a 2. I don't know. It was there. I don't know where it went. So those can divide by 2 because they both can divide by 2. So you end up with x plus 4 equals the square root of negative x plus 2. Let me move this up because we have plenty of space on this one. So we got rid of that. We got rid of this. Now we have to get rid of the root. So you're going to square it to get rid of the root. So again, remember that's x squared. 4 plus 4 is 8x. 4 times 4 is 16. Negative x plus 2. All right, so bring over the things. We can subtract the 2, add the x, add x minus 2 means that we end up with x squared, 9x, and 14 equals 0. So we're at that spot. We got a diamond. We'll go back to this color. 14 and 9 gets you 7 and 2. X plus 7, x plus 2 means that our 2 solutions are negative 7 and negative 2. Potentially, remember? Because they might not always work. They're always opposite whatever your parentheses are. Hopefully you remember that these will always be opposite. Because 0 product property, you set it equal to 0, you'd minus 7, you'd add 2, or minus 2, it would be the same thing. But you got to check them. Check them both. 2 times negative 7. Does that equal 2 times negative 7 plus 2 minus 8? Because if you're putting negative 7 in, then that's going to make positive 7 plus 2, which is 9. And that's going to be 3 square root of 9 is 3. That's 6, which is negative 2. There's a bug. And that side says negative 14. So negative 14 does not equal negative 2. That's not a possibility. So it can't be negative 7. But double check negative 2 because there are times that neither of them work. That could happen. So double check that negative 2 works. So 2 times negative 2. 2 square root negative 2 because that negative is on the inside. We added it in our typo. So that's going to be negative 4, and this side is 2 times 2 plus 2 minus 8, 2, and the square root of 4 would be 2. And 4 minus 8 is negative 4. So negative 4 does in fact equal negative 4, so your answer is negative 2. And I think usually one works, but there are times where neither work. It can happen, okay? Everything happens. There's all sorts of reasons why different things take place. So you have to be careful. Make sure that you are solving completely and checking your answers. Now, because of this, and I don't know, I think that that's this one. Let me see. Yes. So your first homework question looks like this. So I'll do the first one with you because I want to show you how to do it. It has negative 7 equals negative 9 plus 12 minus a. And then I'm going to bring up this worksheet so I can show you how to work the worksheet because sometimes you guys don't always read the directions very well. So this is our problem. You got to get rid of the 9. The other 2 are trapped together. Oh, and that is not an A because it's an 8. An A. It's an A. Not an 8. It's an A. What is my problem? All right. So you add 9 and you get 2. Those are gone. 12 minus a, square it. So 4. 12 minus a is not negative anymore, or under the root anymore. Minus 12, negative 8, negative a. So a equals positive 8. But you got to check it because, well, okay, let's be honest. On here, none of them say no solution, so they're probably going to work. But you can just spot check it. If you put 8 back in here, 12 minus 8 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. Negative 9 plus 2 is negative 7. So you can just spot check these. But if you ever get 2 answers, which I don't know if it happens on today's, but it for sure happens on tomorrow's. So just be really careful because I want to make sure that you know what it is that you're doing. All right. So on the worksheet, however, let me find it. I don't know why it changed to purple, and we used to have a yellow teacher canvas, but now it's purple. So your guys' worksheet for today looks like this. Maybe. Okay, yeah, this is it right here. So let me show you how to work this worksheet because the reason I really like giving you guys worksheets, and I know not everybody loves them, but you also don't love getting the book out, so it is what it is. But I like that the answers are here as options. So then you have kind of a self-check whether you did it right or wrong. So 8 is right here as our answer for A, for the first one. So you take this dot and you connect it to this dot. And if it crossed through any letters and alphabets, then those would go on the bottom together. There's a lot, guys, that go through nothing. I actually think it's like the first 3 or 4 that go through nothing. I don't have the answers in front of me. I want to do number 9 with you real quick because we didn't do any like this. So let me take this one back into our page and paste it right here to see if that works. Oh, look at me. Okay. So let's do number 9 real quick. And then I think this one goes through dots, so then you can see what to do with it. But you're going to take the 4, put them on the other side, just like we would normally. So that's 4. And then you have the square root of x over 8. So you're going to get rid of the root by squaring both sides. The root is gone. 16. X over 8, 16, because that is 4 squared. I have Louis' keys, and he's probably looking for them, so I got to find out. Okay. So you multiply both sides by 8. And 8 times 16, 8 times 16 is 128 equals x. So we want to make sure that that one is on our sheet. So let's go back, 128. Hopefully you wrote that all down. So that's all it is. Even though it looked scary, I realized I just did that fast because I was looking at my phone at the same time. All that over 8 means is it's currently dividing, so you would multiply both sides by 8 to get rid of it. So it's not as bad as it looks. Everyone just sees fractions and they freak out. So it was 128, which is right here. That's kind of nice. So 9 is going to connect with this star. You really need a ruler because if you guys don't draw these straight, it looks like it goes through other things. So I, that's not a good highlight color. Hold up. I is going to be 6. 6 is going to be I. So you go down to the bottom. And 6 is, not a highlighter. 6 is I. Okay, so 6 went through I. So, but there's a lot because look at, there's only 11 that have letters down there and there's 18 problems. So there's going to be 7 that go through nothing. And we found 1 already. This first one went through nothing. So there's going to be 6 more that go through nothing. So don't freak out if they don't connect letters because they don't always. I actually think the first 2 don't. So make sure that you're careful on that. I've only got 10 minutes before the timer runs out. One that I want to show you real quick, I think. Nope, it's not on here. It's on tomorrow's. Okay, so real quick on tomorrow's, I'm going to just pull it up real quick right now because I'm going to run out of time on here. But I'm not making you guys a video for tomorrow because it's just another review. On tomorrow's homework, the one that I want you to look at is right here. Let me throw this into Notability real quick so that I can write on it. It's this one. So it looks it doesn't it looks kind of harder than it is. Right here, number 11. You see on number 11? All you do, because it's already square root equals square root, if you raise both of them to the second power, both of the roots will go away at the same time. So then you're just solving the equation with 25 equals minus x squared equals x plus 17, and we have no root anymore. Okay, so same with number 12. Those roots will go away at the same time. But then from there on, because I kind of think that oh, and 10 does it too. 10 does that too. They're just going to eliminate. But I think from 13 down, these are the ones that end up with x squared. Those are the ones that you end up with x squared, and you have to factor and solve. So if you need me to work out some of those, let me know, text me, I'll work some out and I'll post them for you so that you have some of them worked out and we can go from there. But hopefully everybody understands what they're doing. Hopefully, Mr. Cohen, you just learned everything and now you can help everyone. But if not, I guarantee there's someone in here that will help you work together. And I will see you guys in a couple days. Bye. Bye.